You're listening to Systemic Error Podcast. The failure was designed.
Blanche hearing a surreal Twilight Zone of dysfunction, based on an article by Terry H. Schwadron. The Senate is confirming a personal law firm. The hearing on Todd Blanche was not a search for competence. It was a public rehearsal for accepting that Donald Trump now treats the Justice Department as his private enforcement arm. Democrats asked the right question whether Blanche can show any independence from the man he serves. Republicans mostly helped launder the premise that this is normal. The real subject, Blanche's record as described in the hearing, is the point. He has already helped carry out Trump's retaliation campaign against enemies, helped clear obstacles for favored allies, and signed off on decisions that protect Trump, his family, and his businesses. That is not our side issue. It is the job description the hearing kept trying to rename. The source notes court opinions, judges, and bar associations have already raised legal concerns about actions Blanche ordered as acting attorney general. That should have been the center of the hearing. Instead, the committee treated the question like a personality test. Can he sound sufficiently respectable while running the department as Trump's legal shield? Oversight theater. Republicans did not defend constitutional independence. They narrowed the frame to the least offensive pieces of Blanche's record, as if antitrust in agriculture were the relevant issue when the department is being bent toward loyalty enforcement. John Cornyn and Tom Tillis gestured toward some legal concerns, but that does not change the larger fact the Republican majority is the machinery that keeps this nomination alive. Even the structure of the hearing was engineered to blunt scrutiny. 10 minutes per senator is not oversight, it is rationed discomfort. Still under investigation became the bureaucratic broom used to sweep away every consequential question. The committee did not lack information. It lacked the will to turn that information into consequences. Trump's department, on purpose, Blanche's defense of the Epstein-related conduct, the tax settlement for Trump and his family, and the refusal to move on obvious prosecutorial questions all point in the same direction. This is not confusion, drift, or a few bad calls. It is a department reorganized around the president's personal interests and his preferred enemies. The source says Blanche insisted the department has been wiping out violent crime, restoring focus, and pursuing accountability fairly. That is inside-out rhetoric. The record described here is the opposite: a justice system dropping civil rights, antitrust, white-collar crime, and counterintelligence work, while prosecutors leave by the dozen and politically convenient cases get pushed forward. That is not reform. It is capture. The Senate knows. Democrats on the committee did what an opposition party in a democracy is supposed to do. They named the conflict between public office and private loyalty. Cory Booker's point was simple enough that it should not have needed making. The Attorney General serves the American people, not Trump. The fact that this needed to be said out loud tells you how far the institution has already slipped. But the deeper problem is not that Democrats lack the argument. It is that the Senate's Republican majority has no incentive to act as a constitutional firewall. John Thune can still use procedure to move the nomination. That is the real power structure here, not abstract norms, not respectability, not the language of law, but a majority willing to treat democratic institutions as optional when they interfere with Trump's agenda. A broader pattern. The Blanche hearing was not isolated. The parallel confirmation fight over Jay Clayton and the acting D&I Bill Pult shows the same pattern in another domain: loyalty first, reality second, and institutional sabotage dressed up as management. Intelligence officials get fired. Leak hunting becomes a substitute for public accountability, and even election denial gets laundered into ambiguity. That is the larger system at work. Trump does not merely appoint loyalists, he converts agencies into instruments for relitigating his grievances and protecting his allies. Republicans in the Senate then perform the minimum amount of discomfort required to preserve their own alibis. Democrats can ask the right questions, but until enough power is used to block the machinery itself, hearings like this will keep functioning as ceremonies of normalization. You've been listening to Systemic Error. Thanks to AltaNet for today's article. With it automated voice of Bryce. Thanks for listening.